bizarre stories from the subscribers. Ah ha 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 ha. Hi, Leo Augusto. My name is Geddes, and what am I going to tell you? It happened to me about 4 years ago at my father's farm in the countryside of Minas. I never forgot that night. It was around midnight and I was sleeping when I heard the knocks on my bedroom door. A familiar voice called me Geddes. Take the horse to the tree in the middle of the pasture. Now it was my father. I got up, still half asleep, grabbed the lantern and went out. When I opened the door of the house, he was there on the porch, standing, looking out into the darkness of the field. His face looked normal, just a bit pale because of the yellow light. I didn't question it. He was always serious and bossy, so I went straight to the stable. I got the horse, tied the saddle, and took it over to the tree, which was right in the middle of the pasture. The animal was restless, snorting and tugging at the reins, unwilling to get close. I got a little nervous, but I managed to tie him up. When I turned to go back, I felt a chill down my spine, like someone was watching me there in the dark. As soon as I got home, Dad was in the kitchen, lighting the lamp. "What are you doing? Awake, boy." I thought it was odd. "Wait, you want me to take the horse to the tree now?" Just now, he was looking at me confused. "What's this story?" I just got up to drink some water. I was sleeping until now. At that moment, I froze, wondering if Dad was sleeping. Who was the man I saw on the porch? We ran out to the pasture. When we got there, there was only the rope hanging from the trunk, broken, as if the horse had gotten out of there. The animal was gone. The next day, my father found its carcass in a more remote part of the farm. There was nothing left, just bones. To this day, I don't know what that was, if it was a spirit imitating my father's voice, or if I was just daydreaming. But since that night, I never answered again. When he calls me at night, it could be that a creature was imitating him, right? And what if I do that?
Mommy, dolls don't get jealous and they don't envy either. If she isn't jealous, then why does she want to be your only daughter? And if she isn't envious, then why is she wearing my frozen dress? Are you sure it wasn't you?
Who dressed her?
I'm sure I haven't touched her since the day she attacked me.
My daughter, again, the story she hurt you.
I think you're being way too paranoid, aren't you? I live in a horror movie. I'm haunted by her every day. Oh, my daughter.
Girl?
I'll get her out of here then.
So you can relax. I'll put her in the garage, okay?
Just leave my dress here. Mom, it is you, yes.
Open the door, daughter.
You can come in then. What?
Your daughter kicked me out of my room and now she left me yours, my dress.
I came to take it back.
Oh, and to teach you a lesson. Now this room is mine. Are you going to live in the garage, huh?
Hi, I'm Clara. Has anyone else experienced this? I need to tell you what happened last Halloween. I swear that even today I can't really explain what happened. I went to a party at my college friend's house. I got there around 10 p.m. The place was already packed, loud music, flashing lights, that good party vibe. As soon as I walked in, I saw one of my friends, Julia, nearby, candy table. She was wearing an amazing costume, like a ghost bride, with a black lace dress and a white mask cracked at the corner of her mouth. It was so well done that I even got scared. Are you crazy? That thing looked really real. I got close to her, complimented her costume, and she didn't say anything, just stayed quiet, just stared at me kind of sideways, like she was getting into character. You know, I thought she was just acting to scare me, really. Later, when I went to look for her again, I couldn't find her. I thought she had left or changed clothes, I don't know. About 2 hours later, I was on the balcony and I heard someone calling my name. When I turned around, it was Julia, arriving at that moment with a bag in her hand. She hadn't even put on her costume yet. She said she was late because she forgot her mask at home and had to go back to get it. I stood still. I saw her at the party. I talked to her. When I tried to comment, I laughed and said, "You were already here before, right?" "What do you mean I just got here?" What to do? I didn't know what. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. What to do. As you know, people look. I'm not crazy, as you know, like a crazy person, I'm not. Wearing a white mask, I feel the same chill as that night. Hello, Leo Augusto. I'm watching your channel. Let me share a bizarre story that happened to me. My father passed away some time ago, and of course I was very sad about it. I cried a lot, but life has to go on. Some time ago, not that long ago, I was getting ready to pray. When I got into the position on my knees with my hands together, I saw something strange. I started seeing shadows, man, no kidding, and I also heard screams as if something was happening. And whether or not they liked my prayer, today I am evangelical and I go to church regularly. But something strange happened besides that episode. Leo, man, after that, I was playing, you know? As usual, and my mom was in her room. I was in my room just chilling, you know? Until out of nowhere, her bedroom door slammed shut by itself really hard. I got scared, got up quickly and ran to her bedroom door. But it was locked. It had slammed really hard, right? And then, out of nowhere, my bedroom door also closed by itself, like something wanted to trap me inside. The living room was between my room and my mom's room, right? And I was there, not knowing what to do with the lights off. But my mom opened the door later, and I really scared went in there to stay with her, right? Luckily, she saved me. I was terrified at that moment, not knowing if it was the wind that pushed the door, or if there was something else going on there that I didn't know about. I hope it wasn't something supernatural. The next morning, I was there in the living room, right? I had breakfast and spent time playing games and watching videos as usual. And when I was going to my room, I saw the door closed again. I hadn't closed it, man. Besides that, I heard a strange noise. My girl went over there and kept looking. Man, like there was something weird going on there too. She kept looking at my room, searching for something she hadn't lost. It was a behavior I had never seen in her before. I don't know what happened, man, but I think our father's absence opened the door for strange things to happen there. Hello, Leo, I'm Anna Vittoria, and this story was told by my father. My sisters and I were bored, just like my father, until we started telling stories to lighten the mood. But we were telling scary stories, right? Until my father shared something that happened to our late grandfather. He always said he wasn't afraid of anything, but that day he doubted his own words. My father started by saying that our grandfather wasn't afraid. Would scare anyone, but our grandfather ignored the warning and went hunting. At night, he went alone, carrying a shotgun. There was already a small cabin in the woods, prepared for hunting, so he stayed there hidden, waiting for some animal to pass by. After about 2 hours, an animal that looked like a wild boar appeared. My grandfather decided to shoot, but when he checked, there was nothing there. Confused, he went back to the cabin. Half an hour later, he heard a voice whispering right next to his ear. So you're not afraid of the Nambu's flight? At that moment, he froze and, without thinking twice, fired behind him but saw nothing. When he turned to see who was there, whispering in his ear, he tried to convince himself it was just his imagination. But without hesitation, he left the little cabin and went straight back home. When he arrived, he told everything to my grandmother, while my father and my uncle listened to the story in hiding. After that day, he never said he wasn't afraid of anything again. What could that have been? Could it have been a forest spirit that was watching him, entering his mind and seeing his thoughts, his doubts? I don't know. I just know there are things we can't explain. Hey, my name is Jonas. I was at home, in my room, ready to sleep when I heard a strange noise coming from the hallway. My heart started racing, but I tried to ignore it, you know? I convinced myself it was just my imagination. Still, I decided to check. I opened the door cautiously and took a look, right? It was my cat, Bicha Nino, just standing there, staring into nothing. He seemed restless, like he was sensing something I couldn't see. I sighed in relief, right? Thinking he was just scared by some noise outside. Maybe there was a little bug around, right? I left the door open and went back to bed. But when I looked again, man, Bicha Nino was right next to me, watching me in silence. Something inside me told me that something was wrong. His eyes looked different, darker. The way he stood there staring at me didn't seem normal. Normally he would rub up against me, right? Asking for affection, but now, man, he was just standing there. Bicha Nino was always playful, but now he seemed different. That reminds me that once I read about an indigenous people from North America called the Navarros Navadios. I can't really say Leos. I just know that they believed there were creatures called skinwalkers, witches who gained the ability to transform into animals. By performing dark rituals, they not only take on the form of animals, but can also imitate the human voice to lure their victims. My mind was trying to find a rational explanation, you know? For my pet's behavior, I just knew that it wasn't really him. Where could my real cat be? Skinwalkers can completely replace their prey or use their skin to dress up and impersonate them. If that's the case, then what's by my side right now? My breathing, mano, got heavy, and I looked at Bicha Nino, or at whatever seemed to be him. My instinct screamed at me to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Until then, I hear a hoarse whisper coming from the mouth of my own cat. I heard the following.
What's wrong, Jonas? Why are you looking at me like that? Is it me, your buddy Bicha Nino?
From then on, I started locking my door when I went to sleep. Until after a week, I didn't see him at home anymore. It seems like he ran away or left. My parents say that cats, you know, sometimes they just leave without saying goodbye, says Leo. Hi, I'm Danilo, and I've followed you since you launched the channel. It all started a year ago when I moved to my new condo, which used to be a huge mansion there, but it was demolished from the beginning. The place had a strange atmosphere. The pool, built exactly where the old mansion's basement used to be, always gave me the chills. They said there was a well or something like that down there, but no one knew for sure. One day I was in the pool with a friend who says he can see things. Suddenly he turned pale and said there was a woman there with us. I looked around, but I didn't see anything. It was empty. I thought he was joking or trying to scare me, you know? We walked around there, man, and started hearing strange noises coming from the cistern, muffled, distant sounds like submerged screams. The sound gave me chills, and I ran home without looking back. 2 days later, it was a quiet night. I went to the car to get some groceries my mom had bought and forgot to bring the bags, you know? It was left for me to do. As I was walking through the parking lot, I heard a psst coming from the direction of the pool. I saw a girl standing there by the edge of the water. She was wearing an old wet swimsuit and her skin looked way too pale. Before I could react, she whispered 2 dates. My body froze instantly. I quickly grabbed the groceries and ran back home. On the first date, she mentioned my little mouse, who always slept with me, disappeared. I looked for him everywhere, but nothing. The next day, as I walked by the pool, I saw something floating in the water. It was him, my little mouse. He was dead, his body swollen and motionless. On the second day, I woke to screams from the condominium. Looking out the window, I saw residents gathered at the pool. When I got closer, I was speechless, man. The water was red, stained, as if someone had poured blood in there. Since then, I stopped going there, man, so I wouldn't find out about the weird things that happen around there. I avoid the pool as much as I can, but every now and then, someone drowns there. Thank you for reading my story. Hi Leo, how are you? Do you watch your channel? I'm Francisca. João is 10 and I was always asking him to wash the dishes after meals. I think it's a pretty simple task, right? But he always came up with an excuse, said there was a bug in the sink drain that he was scared and didn't want to go. I thought it was just the kid being lazy, just a child trying to get out of chores, so I insisted, go on João, wash those dishes properly. I tried to bring some order to the situation, but the boy did everything poorly. He washed in a hurry, left the plates still dirty, with food stuck on them and the cutlery barely scrubbed. It didn't even look like he had been near the sink. I looked at that and got angry. What a sloppy job. John. Until one day I got tired of it and told him that if he didn't do it right, there would be punishment. If you keep up this behavior, you're gonna face the consequences, okay? I warned him, thinking that a little firmness would solve it. He would grumble, make a face, but he would go. But one night I told him to do the dishes again, and he went, but this time with tears in his eyes. I didn't understand why he acted that way. What's with the drama, kid? It's just doing the dishes, boy. I remained in the living room, listening to running water. He had no fear. He didn't. He was afraid. He wasn't afraid. I ran over there as fast as I could. When I got there, I saw João holding his arm, crying loudly. And where is it? Did his hand vanish? The blood was running on the floor and he was screaming, "It was the drain monster, Mom. It ate my hand." I was paralyzed, unable to believe what I was seeing. What monster, João? There's no monster here. I answered, trying to stay calm, but inside I was in chaos. I looked at the sink drain, wondering if the house had some kind of food grinding system that I didn't know about, but it didn't make sense. It was just an old regular sink. Did he make all this up, or was there really something there all this time? I don't know. But that scream and that scene won't leave my mind, and I feel responsible for what happened to my son. João, did you hurt yourself with the knife? I don't see anything in the drain or in the sink. Of course not. Mom, I'm going to ask you a question. Where is it? Wasn't my hand supposed to be lying there? What he said is true. That happened. I opened the bottom part to check the plumbing and didn't find anything, just the plumbing destroyed. The next day, I called the plumber and he just thought it was strange that there were tears in the plastic, as if something sharp had gone through there. Hello, I'm Guinho and I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me and my partner Catraca on a night I'll never forget. We were playing on a dirt road close to the city cemetery. The sky was already getting dim, you know, the sun slowly hiding and the night quietly coming in. We kept kicking a ball back and forth for a long time, having fun. When, all of a sudden, we heard a weird sound coming from up there, inside the cemetery. It was like a hoarse, muffled voice. Sounded like someone asking for help. Dude, right then, my heart started racing. We got really freaked out, like, what the heck is that, man? Could someone be lost in there? The cemetery was surrounded by these really tall walls, and on top there were shards of glass, the kind that nobody could climb over without getting all cut up. But we looked ahead and saw that the gate was still open. Curiosity got the better of us and we went over to see what it was. We went in slowly, our hearts pounding, looked all around, and nothing. We spent about 10 minutes wandering around in there, from tombstone to tombstone, trying to see who was talking there, right? Whoever made that noise, it was total silence. We could only hear the sound of our footsteps on the dry ground. Let's get out of here because it's already completely dark. What's up, man? Why are you scared out of your mind? You're with me, and being with me, you're with God. Just a little while ago, you were scared out of your mind, man. I'm getting out of here. That's when we saw her, a girl standing near the gate. Man, she was really pretty, with her hair down and a look that seemed to see right through us. What is a girl like that doing in a rundown place like this? Maybe she came to visit a relative, bring some flowers or something like that. But something about her gave me a weird chill, man. Suddenly, she turned to the turnstile and started talking to it, speaking softly with a calm, almost hypnotizing voice. I couldn't really hear what she was saying, but I saw the turnstile laughing, like it had forgotten its fear. I, on the other hand, just wanted to get out of there. Man, I think we better get out of here, dude. Let's go. The vibe here is really weird. And relax, Goey. She's just asking something. Chill out, man. I didn't want to know. I turned around and started walking toward the gate. As soon as I stepped outside, the gate doors slammed shut with force, like thunder. I looked back quickly, but there was no one there anymore, not even the turnstile or the girl. In seconds, everything was strange, an absurd silence. I had a bad feeling, but I ran home without looking back again. The next day, Katraka didn't show up. Nothing from him on the street, nothing on the phone. I was worried, but I thought he'd show up later. Until his grandmother, Mrs. Zifa, showed up at my house with tears in her eyes, asking if I had seen her grandson. My stomach dropped. The last time I saw Katraka was yesterday at Dona Zefa Cemetery. He was with me and a girl we met there. Then I left and he stayed at Dona Zefa. He looked at me as if I was saying something absurd.
So you were together. Then a stranger showed up and you left, leaving your best friend alone with her, possibly an organ thief or a kidnapper. I called him, but he didn't want to come.
Ma'am? She ran out saying she was going to look for him, but I already knew something was wrong. I spent the whole day thinking about that with a lump in my throat. Man, who was that girl? And that gate slamming out of nowhere, the silence. Everyone disappearing? I went to the cemetery again, just to be sure, but everything was locked up, like no one was there. Days turned into weeks, and Katraka never showed up again. His grandmother still walks around looking for her grandson, but nobody really believes my story. They claim I imagined it, that the darkness made me see things, but I know what I saw. That girl wasn't normal. And sometimes when I walk near that cemetery, I swear I hear my friend's voice calling for help. In other words, that mysterious girl using his voice to lure me into some kind of trap. California, Chiapra, Dutrin, Porta, Ruberti, and call me Shed. Being the new student was never my thing, but that school seemed to have a special talent for making things complicated. The building was old, with peeling walls that smelled like mold, and a hallway so poorly lit that the shadows seemed to dance on their own. I was holding my phone, right? Looking at the school map, trying to find out where room 310 was, on the 3rd floor. That was where I needed to deliver a form to the secretary. The bell had already rung, and the silence was heavy, broken only by the buzzing of the fluorescent lights flickering above me. As I walked down the hallway, I counted the doors. 301, 302, 303 until I reached 312. I stopped, confused. Huh, where's 303? I went back the same way, carefully checking the numbers, but nothing had changed. There were 12 doors and none of them was the one I wanted. The hallway seemed longer than it should, as if every step took me to the wrong place. It must just be exhaustion, but when I turned my head, I saw something that made me freeze. In the corner of the hallway, where there used to be only a peeling white wall, there was now a 13th door. What the hell was that? It didn't look like the others, nothing like the gray metal classroom doors. It was made of dark wood with a rusty latch that gave the impression it hadn't been touched in centuries. A shiver ran up the back of my neck. I didn't have it, I had a white wall. I only had a white wall, I just had a white one. I only had a white wall, just a white wall. There was only a white wall. I had a white wall, I had a white wall. I only had a white wall. I only had a white wall, I was white. I only had a white wall, I was only white. I only had a white wall. 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 I was a white wall. I pulled, and the door opened with a low creak, letting out that smell of dust. Every instinct told me not to stay there, man, and to get out, but I took a step inside. The dim light from the hallway barely lit up that room. There were broken desks, a blackboard cracked down the middle, and windows covered with boards that let in thin slivers of light. It was as if the school had an abandoned version, forgotten in time. Then I heard a low whisper, so faint that I almost thought it was just my imagination. It was a child's voice, but it seemed to come from far away, echoing from a wrong turn, thirsty. I looked around, but no one was there. The shadow on the wall was darker now, with shapes that resembled a tall, crooked person. Suddenly, it moved, imitating footsteps.
Even though it was...
Standing still, my stomach turned. Who's there? This is a prank. There was no answer, but something hit inside one of the desks. A dry sound, as if a book had fallen there. I ran to the door in desperation, grabbed the handle, and pulled hard, but it wouldn't budge. I didn't leave this door open, so why is it locked? My chest tightened, panic rose. I stood there struggling, pulling at that thing until suddenly I was back in the hallway. I fell to the floor, gasping, my heart in my throat, when I get up and look back. The door had gone up, and I was in front of room 312 as if nothing had happened. My partner, I checked my phone, trembling. The map now showed room 310 as if it had always been there. I ran over there, handed in the form without even looking at the secretary's face, and flew down the stairs, swearing that I would never set foot on that bizarre floor again. But the image of that room wouldn't leave my mind. I dreamed about the hallway, but now I was trapped inside it, surrounded by dusty walls and shadows that had my face. When I woke up sweating, I went to check my backpack just to make sure it was all in my mind. But then I saw it at the bottom of the side pocket where I keep my keys. There was something that shouldn't have been there. The wooden door handle, the rusty one, with the same scratches I saw in the room. I held it in my hand, feeling the cold metal, and for the first time, I wondered if I had really left that place. Can you call me Marquito? I'm not the type who likes mysteries, but when I found that note in my backpack, something changed. It was hidden among my books, a crumpled piece of paper with crooked letters that said, "You have been chosen, Jim, midnight, don't tell anyone." I thought it was some stupid prank, you know, some crazy kid, just a classmate trying to mess with me, right? But curiosity got the better of me. After all, what did I have to lose? The school at night was different. Man, the vibe made it feel like a whole new place. The hallways were dark, with echoes of doors slamming far away, and the air felt heavier, as if it carried some kind of mystery. There, I got to the gym, a place that never had practice after hours, and I felt a chill. Man, right then, I pushed the door and my heart skipped a beat. Inside, there were 5 figures waiting for me, sitting in a circle on the floor, lit by candles that flickered as if they were alive. They were students, I think, but I couldn't really recognize them. It was dark, like I said. Their faces looked familiar, like I had seen them before. One of them, who seemed like the leader, was older, with eyes that didn't blink and a smile that didn't look natural. That guy over there looks fake, right? Welcome to the Marquito Club, he told me as if he knew me very well. I wanted to ask what was going on, but before I could open my mouth, he recited a bunch of rules. Never leave before the end, never ask how you got here, never look at the windows. I felt like laughing, saying it was all nonsense, but his voice had a weight that made me swallow my words. The meetings were bizarre. They talked about things I never told anyone, the nickname my mom used when she was angry, the argument I had with my best friend last week, and there was always something wrong. Once I found in the circle a keychain I lost when I was a child, just lying there as if it was normal. Another night, one of the girls was holding a picture of me from when I was about 5 years old, one I didn't even know existed. What's that? I tried to pretend everything was fine, but my stomach turned every time the candles flickered. On the second night, I messed up. I broke a rule. I don't know why, but I looked at the window. My reflection was there, but it wasn't me. And it was smiling in a way that gave me chills. It wasn't my smile. I turned quickly to the circle, but it was empty. The candles were still burning, but everyone else was gone. The next day, I told a friend about it. He got really scared because he had already received a note like that, but since it was really late, he decided not to go. He thought he would get in trouble, maybe fall for a prank from the guys, so he didn't go. He opened his wallet and pulled it out of his pocket. It was a note very similar to the one I received to this day. I don't know what happened that night, but it's a good thing nothing bad happened to me, right? But that stayed on my mind. How did they have that? All those things about me. Hi Leo, my name is Felipe, I'm 11 years old and I live in Pernambuco. One day I went to my grandmother's house. It's a really nice place. One time I was there sleeping, in the room with my mom. Right, Leo? I heard some strange noises and dogs barking. The noises were like a horse neighing, but really deep. My mom heard it too. She said she was going to see what was going on. It's not possible at this hour. There's all that noise outside. She went to the kitchen, and at my grandma's house, there's an area where the bathroom is. My mom saw a crack in the door, looked outside, and saw the black creature walking on all fours. Its eyes were red, and she also saw a bunch of the neighbors' dogs barking around the creature. The creature was there, holding a dead ox. It looked like it wanted to eat the ox, but it got scared of the dogs and left the carcass aside. Leaving, my mom got scared and ran back to the room where she was. Since I was already awake, she told me everything she saw, and I was shaking with fear. My grandma woke up and came into our room, maybe because she noticed we were awake, right? Then we told her about the noise, man, and my mom told my grandma about the creature. She said she had been hearing those noises for some time, but she always ignored them. She said that one day my grandpa was walking in the woods with my uncle and saw that same creature eating a cow. My grandpa tried to attack it by throwing a knife, but the creature saw them both, dodged the knife, and ran after them. My uncle, since he was young, ran ahead, leaving the old man behind. She said my grandpa was never the same again. After that incident, he got home unharmed, but didn't say anything about it. It became taboo to talk about it. She never heard the noises again, and the creature disappeared. Nowadays, no one knows about that creature anymore. Maybe that appearance was the first one after a long time. But what kind of creature is that looks like a horse and eats cattle? You were lucky it didn't eat the dogs that were barking around, right? Are you crazy? Hey Leo, how are you? My name is Ivan and I'm 14 years old and I'm gonna tell a story that happened a few weeks ago. Man, I'm still in disbelief about what happened. I have a friend named Eric. We're inseparable. Near his house, there's an abandoned soccer field. The kids used to go there to play soccer and then leave. Always in the afternoon, there were always some soccer games. There was a building there that was a locker room, right? But it was abandoned and the walls were covered in graffiti. Man, everything there was deteriorated, and there was a legend that someone had been killed by a chainsaw. Inside, even though we knew about that terrifying story. So, we were there almost every day playing our little soccer game, even when there weren't many people around. One day, we finally decided to explore the locker room. Inside, it was there, behind the field. We got there and saw the door half open inside. The smell was terrible. Man, it smelled like rotten meat. The air was heavy and I couldn't stop looking at the exit. Something in my mind was screaming, "Get out of there. Something's going to happen." But curiosity spoke louder and we stayed inside. Did some animal die here in this Katinga? That must be it. Suddenly we heard a noise. The exit door slammed shut loudly, making a huge noise, and then we heard the sound. It was a chainsaw being started, really loud and scary. Our hearts raced. We were paralyzed for a second until Eric shouted, "Open this door!" We pushed with all our strength and the door wouldn't open until we saw someone coming out from inside. It was something all dark, man, and it was carrying a chainsaw. Sparks were flying everywhere, man. He was walking by the old locker room lockers until we kept pushing the door and it finally opened. And as if that wasn't enough, it suddenly started raining. When I looked back, I saw that thing following us. Dude, he was wearing a white mask, like those theater ones, you know? With a fixed, creepy smile and his whole body dressed in black. I was running, but the guy kept coming after me until I felt it, dude. I was hit in the legs and fell into the puddle, into the water, onto the ground. At that moment, I looked back and didn't see anything anymore, just my friend helping me get up. Since then, we never returned, but something even stranger happened later. I started having nightmares about that entity, which appeared to us almost every night. It's like it invaded my mind, rented a penthouse in my head, that thing. Well, I still have those nightmares to this day, man. But I still wonder, was it the soul of someone murdered there, or the soul of the killer himself? I don't know. Hello, my friends. Today we're going to learn about a sinister creature known as Train Eater. This thing is able to change its body and pretend to be a train. It copies all the details of this means of transportation used by thousands of people every day. If you were at a station where Train Eater was, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. At first, because this creature mimics very well the sounds of gears, doors opening, announcements of upcoming stations, among other things. It also has lighting inside. Everything is just like a normal vehicle. You'll only realize something is wrong when the windows start to close. Then, it moves very fast, to the point where some people even lose their balance and fall. You'll see a green liquid dripping down the walls and slowly starting to fill the inside. Everyone around you will start to melt and be digested by it. The chance of surviving the devouring train is minimal because the acid is very strong. And even if you tried to use a knife or something sharp to cut your way through the walls, you would be going too fast to try to jump out of there. Maybe the only way to escape from this creature would be whenever you get on a train to poke the body with something metallic, because if blood comes out of the body, you'd know right away, right, who it was. All the unlucky passengers who get on it are digested, served as food for this creature. It likes to show up in very busy cities, and its favorite times to fill its belly are during rush hour, because it can catch many defenseless passengers without them even suspecting that this will be their last trip. So my friends, be careful when taking a train, okay? A young couple is having fun at an arcade. He just lost to her. At one of those dance machines, they catch their breath and start walking through the arcade. It's not crowded tonight. The two of them can choose any game they want. Her boyfriend notices something. It's a door at the back of the arcade, and the lock latch is kind of open, on. They got curious, wondering if there are broken games in there, maybe those that let you play without having to spend money. The two agreed to go in and found a dark room that doesn't seem to be visited much, full of cobwebs and dust everywhere. My partner, and really man, it was full of broken games in there. They're leaving. When they hear a noise, they stop and look at each other. The young woman screams in fear when she sees an old woman looking at her, and her boyfriend laughs at her for being scared of a game. It's just an old fortune teller. They must have called her by accident and didn't notice. Her insides are now lit up to reveal. The animatronic head and torso of an old woman aren't moving, but her glazed, lifeless eyes keep staring at the young woman. The two look at each other, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, the old woman comes to life with the click and whir of gears, and she seems to take a deep breath. The young woman walks toward the fortune teller while the old woman keeps breathing, but then, out of nowhere, she stops. There's another loud click. When a card appears from a small slot in front of the machine, she looks at the card. Then she looks up and sees that the old woman is looking at her again, as if the robotic figure could really see her. The young woman slowly picks up the card, and at the exact moment she pulls it, everything goes dark, and the old woman collapses. "What is this?" her boyfriend asks, looks at the card, and his face changes as he reads it. "Hey, look at this," says her partner as she quickly hides the card in her pocket. He gets behind the old lady's machine and pulls out a small piece of wire that had been cut. It wasn't even connected, it was just sitting there, so they got out of there. Later that night, the two of them are at the young woman's apartment door. He asks if she's okay, and she replies that everything's fine. And they probably pressed the button and the machine turned on since there was still power in the battery. She says goodbye and goes into her apartment. Inside, the young woman leans against the door. She takes the card out of her pocket that came out of the machine, and it says the following: "Pa."
It seems that you made some mistakes. Some things are unforgivable, no.
It's not possible. It's just a coincidence. It can only be that, a coincidence. He goes to his shelf and takes a framed photo. It's a picture of her many years younger with her sister, and he starts thinking about that night, the night he'll never forget no matter how hard he tries. The night she lost her sister and also a part of herself. She puts the photo back on the table before looking at the card she's still holding. In her other hand, she crumples the paper in her fist and throws it in the trash before going to bed. Late at night, the young woman tosses and turns with nightmares. When suddenly she wakes up, she heard a sound. She looks around her dark room, but nothing seems wrong. She hears the sound again. A noise is coming from the direction of the closet. She gets out of bed and goes over there. One slow step after another, she reaches the closet door, but the moment her fingers touch the handle, the door bursts open. She screams and falls backward as several arms reach out from the darkness of the closet toward her. She kicks and brushes off the arms as they grab her, trying to pull her inside. She fights with all her strength. As she tries to crawl away, she manages to escape their grasp and gets up, runs out of the room, and heads toward the exit. However, the arms follow her, stretching out from the closet. Mano, growing longer and longer. The sound of bones twisting and breaking as they form new joints to bend is agonizing. Her hands reach for the doorknob and she grabs it, just as the arms grab her. The young woman is pulled back and falls to the floor as the arms drag her down the hallway. She tries to resist, but it's useless. Today, we're going to learn about the legend of the Tree of Souls. Around 1845, in a small town in the countryside of Minas, there was an urban legend about the Tree of Souls. It was in a forest behind the town. It was huge and hollow, and there was an opening where people could go inside. People believed that the tree was a shelter for hundreds of souls who were supposed to be guardians. and they kept evil spirits away, helping the town to prosper. Once a year on Good Friday at midnight, they would come out of the tree for a procession through the town. They would walk through all the streets, each one holding their candle in hand, giving their blessing. The residents, in turn, out of respect, had to stay inside their homes with everything closed, including the curtains, until the procession was over. On one of those nights, a girl from the city decided to look out the window. She was amazed. Hundreds of people dressed in white were reciting something that couldn't be heard. She noticed that the people were not ordinary beings, as their bodies were somewhat transparent and luminous. Amazed by what she saw, she opened the window and jumped out to follow them. When the procession ended, the people returned to the forest. The girl hesitated a bit to follow them, but she thought if she had already come this far, why not keep going? Behind some bushes, she spotted the tree and saw the people entering and disappearing. The last person in line stopped before entering, turned to the girl and looked into her eyes, then started walking toward her. The girl, for some reason, didn't feel afraid and waited for the ghost to approach. The woman handed her the candle, a gift for her courage.
Thank you.
The woman returned to the tree before going inside, looked at the girl again, and disappeared. When the girl looked at the candle again, it had turned into a femur. Frightened, she ran home and told her parents what had happened. Her parents, worried, sent her back to the woods and told her she should bury the femur under the tree. Since they didn't want a human bone inside the house, the girl was last seen entering the woods. Her footprints could be seen up to the tree, but she wasn't there. Legend says the girl can be seen. During the procession, she carries her candle at the very end of the line of ghosts. Imagine you're walking through a park and you see a different kind of swing. When you go to use it, you end up encountering something that will change your life. A preteen was heading home around 11:33 post-meridian when passing by a park in his neighborhood, he saw that they had put up a really cool swing on the tallest tree, right there. He had promised his parents he would get home before midnight and thought, they put up a really cool swing over there, man. I'm gonna mess around there, there's still time. That's when he got closer and could see the playground equipment. This playground equipment was different, made of a material similar to rubber, different from the ones with rope and wood on the seat. That's when he sat down and started swinging. He could gain more speed with less effort. That swing was really good, wasn't it? And he tried to go as fast as he could.
Wow, man, what an awesome swing. Ha ha, dude. I'm going to do a 360 here.
But he didn't realize that all of this was just a trap. A trap. This one was made by the creature known as the Swing Collector. The swing is nothing more than a part of its body designed to attract people. And once you fall, you can't get out anymore. He tries to escape, but a sticky substance traps him, leaving him helpless. The swing starts being pulled into the tree, which then opens a hole in its trunk and swallows the person. Swing Collector is a creature that feeds on children, teenagers, and even adults. Those who use the swing, it usually settles in parks to feed easily, always acting after the sun goes down. Because it is a shadowy creature and light causes its death, it is believed that Swing Collector is a tree from the underworld and that it feeds on bodily fluids and other organisms. But for some reason, it came to our world to collect food. Eating food that you or your family didn't prepare can be a very worrying problem. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, I'll show you the risks involved in eating street food. The first time something happened to me was while I was attending college. Man, back in 2011, 2012, 2013, around that time, before the channel, I was leaving an art history class. My stomach was already churning out all those gastric acids, digesting itself, you know, giving me that crazy stomach pain, just dying for me to throw some food in there. So I decided to stop by a food truck that was near the ground floor, and with Naziba. But when I took it out of my mouth, there was something really tough coming out. Dude, what is this? I looked at that, man, and realized it was plastic. Dude, yeah, man, you know that plastic that wraps around the ham, the packaging? Dude, that's right, the packaging, man, plastic stuff, really weird. They cut it together, dude, and put it in the snack, man. Damn, man, I almost threw up right then. When I pulled it, it was stuck, and I almost choked, even though I was already far from the place. And I ended up not complaining about it. Dude, I should have gone there and said something, right? Man, what happened after that? I stopped buying any snacks there because what if they're tampered with? Another crazy time, man. It was when my wife brought a cake from a work party. Man, I was really happy, you know? Wow, let's eat this carrot cake with chocolate frosting. It's amazing, guys. However, on the first bite, I felt something hard. Whoa, what's that? Could it be a big piece of chocolate that didn't melt in the frosting? But that didn't feel like something organic, man. When I stuck my finger in there and pulled it out, I saw it was a hairpin, man. My happiness faded away and I finished spitting out the rest of the cake that was in my mouth. Right, Mano? Damn, man, how can someone drop something like that in the food? That's why cooks wear little hats, Mano, so nothing falls from their heads. Imagine if something like that falls. Just think about saliva dropping in. Hair? Are you crazy? But tell me, Mano, have you ever found any weird food or something strange in your food? Man, I just wanted to eat in peace. Mano, you're crazy. Hey guys, what's up? This is Leo, man. I'm gonna tell you some stuff that happened to me here, dude. I was playing stacking some little wooden blocks here with my daughter, you know? But that's right, I'm a dad, you know, until my daughter grabs one of those little blocks and I see it, right? Her fingernail was filthy, man. Like, there was a huge amount of dirt, you know? Right away, an alarm went off in my mind. She had played in the dirt earlier and it ended up going unnoticed. That's it, man. I thought, I'll cut those long nails and in the end, I'll clean off that crust of dirt that's stuck there. Are you crazy, man? That stuff is full of germs, especially with kids who always have their hands in their mouths. She's gonna catch some nasty worms with that. When I started cutting, man, something unexpected happened. A nail flew into my eye because a kid's finger is so tiny, so I got really close. So I wouldn't mess up, so I wouldn't hit the quick. When you cut with the clippers, it hurts, right? Man, what if I take off a chunk of skin there and the kid starts crying and freaking out? Man, I think that was my mistake, right? Getting way too close with my eyes there, you know, to cut the thing. Are you crazy? I rubbed it to see if it would come out, right? But I was fine. I thought everything was sorted out. I was wrong. However, later I noticed that my eye was red, so I washed it, right? I kept blinking under running water, and I felt a strange sensation, like there was sand inside. I think it's just the feeling. I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. I know I can do it. I know I did it. I don't know if I did it. I don't know if I know if I did. I did it, but I'm not sure if I did. I don't know. I can do it. I know I can do it. I don't know. I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. From me? I went to the sink and kept pouring water in there. I opened my eye wide and I saw, man, damn, the splinter was right there, dude. It wouldn't come out at all. It hid deep inside me, but now it's time for it to come out. I thought it was just a little square, man, but when I grabbed it, that thing was a huge splinter, dude. Good thing I didn't get any inflammation in my eye, right, Mono? Imagine if that thing went into my brain and I ended up with a piece of fingernail in my brain. Soon I'd break down, right, Mono? The system would start to glitch. Now I'm alert, you know? I started to take precautions. I always wear glasses to protect my eyes from any particles that might try to get in. And remember, Mono, be careful when you cut your nails, man. Those nail clippings are dangerous. Ah, sweets. Eating a sugary candy, chewing a chewy gum can bring us great joy, right, man? But we need to be careful about how we get these treats. When I was a kid, one thing I loved was sweets. Every kid likes them, right, man? I remember that every day I had to stop by the corner store on the street to buy candy. Sugar was the fuel that kept me playing all day. Sweets that I didn't even have to buy. It was September. You know why? Because in September, there's the day of St. Cosmas and Damien. Crazy. Well, there's no better day for a kid addicted to sweets than that day. You get me, my man? Even old folks would take advantage to eat some of the kids' candy. There's always that lame uncle who comes and sticks his hand in your bag to grab a lollipop. I remember those St. Cosmas and Damien days. I used to go out with my friends in the morning and only come back at the end of the afternoon. It was an expedition in search of sugar. Some of my friends couldn't go along on this crazy adventure because their parents wouldn't let them. Some said that candy was from the devil, from some weird religion, you know what I mean? Actually, a lot of people thought that way, right? And they wouldn't even let their kids step outside the house. So, some of my friends would go after candy, and others wouldn't even eat it, afraid there was some kind of curse on it. Before leaving the house, I had to prepare some things to take with me, because I would spend many hours outside. Backpack, check. Water bottle, check. Everything set. Dude, let's just go outside already, man, seriously. On the street, we saw a bunch of sugar addicts. It looked like The Walking Dead at lunchtime, except instead of hunting for human flesh, it was for sweets. There were two ways to get those valuable Cosme and Damio candy bags. The first was to wait on a busy street corner for a car. Stopping and giving them to us was the simplest way. The second was to walk around and explore the neighborhood, going to specific houses that were known for handing out candy every year. Man, that day we got about 20 bags in each backpack. Actually, we got even more, right? Because on the way, I couldn't. I couldn't get there. I managed to get there around him. Arriving alone reminded me of starting out with Ay Amiguinos. Multimedia, little sweets, and you're going to eat them, of course. I love it. You know these candies are cursed, right? Leo, what? What do you mean, Grandma? All of this is from a suspicious religion, cursed by the evil thing. Eating these candies could end your life. I don't believe in any of that, Grandma. And besides, this is free candy. I can't just throw all of this away, right? Okay? Just don't say I didn't warn you later. Should I eat them? If what my grandma said is true, I'm going to be in trouble. But they look so delicious. Look, they're calling me. Man, come on, Leo, eat me. I'm full of sugar. Damn, I'm sorry, Grandma.
Bye.
The next day, I woke up feeling sick, with my stomach making a weird noise. Man, I just walked like that anyway, right? In pain, I went to the living room, until I saw my grandma. Grandma, I'm feeling terrible. My grandma didn't even need to finish her sentence. I already knew what was happening. You're dying, boy. I warned you not to eat those cursed candies, but you didn't listen to me. I'm sorry. Right after the conversation, I ran to the bathroom. Somehow, I managed to expel the curse from my body. It all came out in the toilet. Aksai Zanotto, after growing up, I keep remembering this story. Were they really cursed, or did I just get sick because I ate too many of them? That's how it is, my friends. So be careful when getting candy. The next story you're gonna see is about the danger of accepting candy from just anyone, someone you don't know. On days that aren't celebrations like Cosmos and Damien, today we're going to learn the story of Papa. Figo is known as an old, ragged, hunchbacked, bearded man who usually wanders the city streets with a big sack on his back. His intention is to capture disobedient children who play alone in the streets and eat their livers. He has a bizarre appearance, very long fingernails, disproportionate ears and nose, and teeth that even look like a vampire's. All he wants most is to find a child without the protection of an adult. He usually uses some tactics to lure his victims. There are reports of children saying that there was an old man in front of a school talking to a student, and he offered a toy. The boy didn't accept, so he offered candy and the boy accepted. After that day, no similar cases were ever seen again. They keep repeating over the years, and what remains are families shattered by Papa. Fig. Legend has it that this man does this to children because he has an illness, and it's necessary for Papa Figo to eat a child's liver. That's why he gets this name, which is a contraction of the word Pa. By eating livers, he believes his illness will be cured. You must be wondering why he only takes children and not adults or the elderly. There could be two explanations for this. The first is that children are easier for him to capture than adults. He just throws them into the sack he carries on his back and leaves. Another explanation is that children are pure and their organs are brand new. In some versions of the legend, Papa Figo has some helpers who lure the children and bring the victims to him. After eating the victim's liver, he usually leaves some money next to the body for funeral expenses and also to help the family.